Plate 3. Ship Exterior Superstructure. You know by now that a total of 5 ships set sail and that the journey took 3 years. A rickety barge would have been totally unsuitable for a long, perilous voyage because it was too small and too unsafe. Ships had to be large and robust and in perfect condition. Ships in those days were different in many ways. This applies to construction, material, propulsion, and size. Whether old or modern, what ships always have in common is that they have to transport people and goods across the water. They can sink if they ram against each other or hit a rock. Around 3 million ships now lie at the bottom of the sea, along with the treasures once loaded. Let's look at Magellan's ships first. You will be amazed at how much has changed in ships today compared to back then. Magellan's fleet consisted of 5 ships. Trinidad was the leader ship, flagship. It was gigantic for its time, 26 m long and 7 m wide. San Antonio, Victoria, Concepcion, Santiago. The Santiago was smaller and more maneuverable than the other 4 ships. She was better suited to explore coasts and river courses. Then as now, ships have an area on top where you can walk around, feel the wind and look out over the water. This is the upper deck. From the upper deck, ladders lead down into the ship's hull. It provides space for people and goods as well as protection from the weather. You can imagine the upper deck and hull like a terrace with a cellar underneath, except that the whole thing floats. An important accessory, then as now, is the anchor. The anchor, a very heavy piece of metal with prongs, is connected to the ship by a thick rope. If you throw the anchor into the water, it sinks to the seabed, gets caught there and holds the ship in place. The ship can only sail when the anchor is pulled up again by the rope. The ships at that time were made of wood, pines and oaks. Thick wooden beams provided stability, like pillars in a building. The upper deck was made of wooden planks held together by cords of hemp. With tar, the grooves between the boards were made tight so that no more water could get through. Something important is still missing, because otherwise such a ship would just be a huge floating nutshell drifting in the water. How can one move the ship, and most importantly, into the desired direction? All ships at that time were sailing ships. To sail, sailing ships need wind and sails into which the wind can blow. You can imagine sails as giant bed sheets. They were attached to high wooden masts on the ship. Sails could be pulled up or down with ropes. They were made of very sturdy fabric. Why? Fabric can be rolled up or stretched, fabric bends depending on the wind. The fabric for the sails had to be robust so as not to be torn to shreds by the storm. Depending on how strong and from which direction the wind was blowing, the ships made progress. To do this, a sailor had to climb up the mast and change the sails. In order to stay on course in bad storms, the sailors on the upper deck had to endure a lot. That sapped their strength. That's why they took turns. When there was a headwind, the boats had to zigzag to make any progress at all. In calm or particularly narrow stretches, rowing boats had to pull the ships. Rowing afforded a lot of arm power. Now you know what a ship looked like back then. A flag, namely the Spanish flag, was of course not to be missed. Especially on a long voyage, the ships had to be in top condition. To be on the safe side, Magellan had all its ships freshly tarred again, and equipped them with new ropes and sails. The upper deck has been scrubbed clean. The timbers were checked for woodworms before crew and cargo could finally embark.